Welcome to Football Thunders, episode 16, because apparently we've done a couple of 14s. But who cares? It's just a number, and what does numbers mean? Nothing. Brought to you by the Proper Blokes Club, Walking for Mental Health, and Let Us Talk Football Team. Dan, tell us all about them.
We're a football club built around making money for the Mind charity. We have a game, if you're in the London/North kind of Kent region, at Oakwood Sports Ground in Crayford on the 19th of November. It's a 7:30 kickoff. It's People's FC against Let Us Talk. It's £5 for an adult and £3 for kids. If you are in the area, please head down to VC Athletic, Oakwood Sports Ground, DA1 4DN. We'd love to invite you in. Come and watch us play some football, and you might even see me.
Assistant manager, you.
See,
but not in that shirt you're wearing, because I just got to tell you he's wearing a Green Bay shirt at the moment, listeners.
It's because we're winning tonight, so I thought I'd get on early doors.
Good. Right, coming up this on this pod, we have to discuss. We're going to have a look at Barcelona and their schmozzle that has gone on there this week, and in general, it's the most obvious sacking of the year. That really, but with more about that in a minute. Also, we'll take a look at players who didn't reach their potential because of injury. Doesn't necessarily mean their career was cut short by injury. I think it's players that's career was blighted by injury. It could be cut short, but it could be their career was ruined. They played, but not quite at the level that everyone expected. And also, we'll turn our attention, I think it'd be rude not to have a look at the events at Old Trafford last Sunday. Without a shadow of a doubt. I think that's we can look at it 2 times if you want, Ryan. That's fine. I think he's putting 2 fingers up to say we can discuss it twice, once at the start and once at the end. But first, should we look at the main subject tonight? Is definitely players who never reached their potential because of injury. Now, we've got a variety of range. I've already asked. Dan's are from the year 2000, really, aren't they? It's your knowledge base.
Yeah, I've got one more from before, but I think I'll have to rely on you for more detail.
Okay, and Ryan's from about 1992. So mine goes a little bit further back than that. And should I start? Because I've got 3 names.
In 1874.
Not that bad. But I've got 3 names, 2 of which I've seen play. 2 of which I think you'll all know of. One of them you probably don't know. Dan may know, but Ryan, you certainly won't. My first one is a young player called Graham Tutt. Dan, do you know? The goalkeeper. Ryan, he has a book, yeah. Ryan, have you heard of him?
No, never heard of him. I've heard of King Tut, but not him.
No. He was Graham Tutt was a young keeper that came through the ranks at Charlton, and he went out on loan to Workington in 1976, I think it was.
You were 50.
He suffered. He was up at Roker Park playing against Sunderland, and he suffered an eye injury, which put him out of action for 18 months. And it cut short his career in England. I mean, he then went over to the States and played for Arcadia Shepherds. And he went to South Africa, Arcadia Shepherds, Columbus Magic, Atlanta Chiefs, and he stayed in America, where he is now. He's written a book, which is a really good book to read. But he was a very, very, very talented keeper. But for that injury at such a young age, he was just barely 20 when the injury occurred, and it was a horrific injury. I mean, you can Google Graham Tutt and the injury will come up. You can see it's just under the right eye where the cheekbone is depressed, and it's gone, and it's pretty nasty. So that's my one. Another one I've got is Norman Whiteside. Ryan's ears will pick up this Man United player. I think he made his debut at 16 or 17 for Man United. He went to the World Cup in 1982. He's got an absolutely beautiful goal in the 1983 Cup final against Brighton. But he injured his knee, and Fergie's the one who shipped him out. He carried on to have a career, but he moved over to Everton. He moved to Everton, but he only made 29 appearances in 2 years. So Fergie got rid of him after he was at 7 years. He was one who was renowned for enjoying life to the full. Norman Whiteside. He was one of the main drinking club members. He was in there with Paul McGrath and Brian Robson, and Fergie didn't appreciate that. What he did appreciate And a lot of people think that Fergie didn't like Whiteside. He just said he was, as far as he was concerned, Whiteside was about as close to a genius as you were going to get. He was an exceptional player, and it's a knee injury that really sort of cut short his career. You went to Everton, which you can do. You could do in those days and just have an average career. But he was set to be one of the world's best players until that knee injury. And my final one, a name you'll know, but I'll give you some stats about this man. He played 274 league games, yeah? And he scored 251 league goals.
Oh, I know who it is.
Ryan, any ideas who it is?
No, go on, go for it, Dan.
It's Clive Mendonca, right?
It's not Clive Mendonca. No, it's way before that. Brian Clough.
Okay. Senior or junior?
Senior, the manager.
Brian Clough. Yep.
Brian Clough, the manager. He retired at 29. He actually got injured when he was 26. He played for Middlesbrough, 213 games, 197 goals. 61 games for Sunderland, 54 goals. And he got 2 caps for England. And he got injured and he did his knee ligaments, an injury that these days would easily be out for 9 months. But he finished his career. He tried to come back, but it just didn't work. But that goal record alone tells you something about how good he was as a player. 274 games, 251 goals. Had he not been injured, who knows? I mean, his England career would have been a lot longer, I would think. He retired in 1959. Around that time, there was a couple of other players that whose career was ended, but not by injury, unfortunately, the Munich air disaster. And I've never seen any footage of Duncan Edwards, but when you hear Bobby Charlton or the players who were at Man United, they talk about Duncan Edwards, who they reckon would have played for England for years and years and would have been one of the greatest players in the world. And yeah, everyone who saw him play said he was just an incredible talent. So those are mine. I know they're a bit old, and half our listeners will be thinking, well, I mean, there's one there. Brian Clough, people will know Brian Clough, but they know Brian Clough, the manager, and what are the achievements he had as a manager. But you need to look at the Brian Clough before that, up in the northeast when he was playing for Middlesbrough and Sunderland, and he just couldn't stop scoring. But for that knee injury, who knows? He could have been one of the highest scorers. Well, he would have been one of the best goal scorers in top flight football. Dan,
just while you mentioned Sunderland, I'd just like to remind everyone that lives in Sunderland, you're owned by Charlton Athletic Football Club.
Yes, we are. We own Charlton. We've been living rent free in their minds since 1998, and it's joyous. Who's going next? Ryan, we're going to go with you next because you're. We're going to go in age. You see.
Right. Okay. I've got a lot, so me and Dan might clash on a few of them. They might come together.
I have 3, so I focused on 2 with a third question. So
Ryan, if you sort of go with your top 3, and then if there's anything you really think should sneak in there, because
well, the first one I think really needs to be brought up, and that was Fabrice Muamba. For anybody who doesn't know who that is, he was a former Bolton player who suffered a cardiac arrest in a televised match, so it was live on TV against Tottenham, and he was forced to retire very shortly after then, in about 2012, I think it was, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
He was a cracking player. He's probably not rated that highly at the time, but
he was just coming, after it happened, he was just starting to get his plaudits, wasn't he? He was starting to get talked about. The England squad, his name was getting bandied about after a difficult time. Stuck at Arsenal, went to Birmingham, was at Bolton, and I think it was their captain, if I'm correct.
Yeah. That one was really difficult to watch, especially because it literally happened in front of us.
Anyone who saw what happened to Christian Eriksen, pretty much the same thing, only Fabrice Muamba was much worse. He was clinically dead for quite a period of time. There was a heart surgeon in the crowd, luckily, that came on and assisted to keep blood circulating and keep him in a condition that they could get him to specialists and get him.
I watched a podcast he was on.
Yeah,
and his heart didn't work for 78 minutes.
That's some astonishing.
It's crazy that he's still alive.
Yeah,
it's just grateful that he is, to be honest, because no one deserves that.
And what it did, it made a bit of a sea change in football. That now every football club, wherever you go, you'll find defibrillators now.
It wasn't even just football. I think it's
It is.
So
It's
much
throughout
wilder,
society.
wider from him.
He leads the campaign, and he helps to
I
lead
was
the
gonna
campaign
say.
for getting a. I know a cricket club I played for in the summer have a defibrillator, and there's lots of charities and people that raise money to have defibrillators, and they're lifesavers because they can restart the heart, which is much better than just keeping the blood to the
I'm
oxygen.
trained to use one.
Because the heart muscle dies the minute it stops beating. It's starting to die, and it's all very well keeping the blood and keeping the brain alive, but you need to keep the heart muscle alive. So the quicker you can get the heart started, the better the heart will be after the incident. Sorry, Ryan.
And there is also a petition currently in front of the government at the moment to make it law that every sports stadium or
it should.
sporting club has a defibrillator in the ground.
Yeah, that
And
should be a
also
given.
they're also the same thing for schools as well.
Yeah, it
Which is
should
also
be.
being trialed.
Next one.
Go on, yep.
I just showed Dan a video. Obviously, Pete, you said you didn't want to watch it, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Is a former Manchester United youth player called Ben Thornley. Obviously, being a Man United player, being a Man United fan, this one was quite close to home. He was another member of the fabled class of '92. Unfortunately, he didn't get to the level that Giggs and Beckham and that lot did, not through a lack of talent, because he was massively talented. If you talk to David Beckham and Dennis Law and everybody at Manchester United, they said that he probably would have been the best player to play for Manchester United since George Best.
There's a thing not long ago on TV, and he was saying he would have been the best of the group.
Yeah, unfortunately, his career, it wasn't cut short, but it was dramatically changed forever. Tackled by, well, I call it a tackle. Dan, you've seen the video.
It's
an assault.
It's just an abuse.
It's an assault. In 1994, in a reserve team game, he was tackled by a Blackburn Rovers player called Nicky Marker. And basically, the surgeon who did his surgery described Ben's knee as opening a book and watching all the pages fall out.
Oof,
Everything was absolutely ruptured clean off of the bone. There was no ligaments attached. Everything was ruined. He actually sued Blackburn and Nicky Marker in 1997. Yeah, he won several £1 million, although the figure isn't disclosed. He did go on to play for Huddersfield, Aberdeen, and Blackpool, and Bury, and a few other clubs. But he really should have been he should have been in the Champions League side of '99. But unfortunately, his career was screwed. The other one I'm going to come up is one that Dan and Pete probably might not know, but his name was Gianluigi Lentini. For people who don't know who he was an Italian winger who became the world's most expensive player for £13 million in 1992-93. He was in the Capello AC Milan side that finished the season undefeated in Serie A. He wrapped his 911 Porsche around a speed barrier and at high speed in August 1993. How he escaped alive, it beggars. If you go online and Google the crash and see the photos of what's left of his Porsche, it's baffling that he even stepped out alive, let alone stepped out at all. He did go on to have a career, but it was nowhere near the level it should have been, and he had a lot of memory problems and vision issues that just meant that he didn't become the player that he should have been.
As soon as you mentioned his name, I thought, is that the fellow of the car crash? Yeah, I do remember it, because he was the big prospect. I remember at the time it was a big signing. So yeah, go on. Yep, excellent. Yeah,
World's most expensive player in 1992 at £13 million, and now we're looking at transfers in excess of 200 million, which is what PSG paid for Mbappe to Monaco.
Yeah.
So that's my three main ones. I've got a list of others, but Dan, come in and then I'll just chuck some names out and we'll have a quick run at.
Go on, Dan.
So as Pete said already, mine are based kind of my experience of watching football. So I'll start with one that I thought one of you would mention, which is Ledley King.
He's on my list.
A centre-back that, again, if it wasn't for injuries, but I think also he was in with Terry and Ferdinand. He was
equal to them. He was going to be equal to them, yeah.
I think the guy spent the last 2 or 3 years of his career not training, just playing every week just to try and get himself fit. He played I think he made his debut in like 2000, was an ever present from then till about 2006, and then sadly his body just stopped on him, didn't it?
Yeah, he couldn't do it. Very similar to Paul McGrath of Man United and Villa, who couldn't train.
You look at his if you were a football fan back then, you'd already know, but he had everything about him. He looked so cool, so calm, and I thought he was very overlooked. I was actually surprised to see he did play for England 20 times.
He did, yeah.
But a big loss, because he was a big centre back, and you think would have been old enough to have not been in the team that obviously has made the success Tottenham had recently. But when they were going through turbulent times, I wonder if Ledley King had played another 3 or 4 years and are into 2016, 2015, if he makes a difference.
Yeah, we go to the Euros at 2016 and we don't get done by the Icelandic players because we've got a decent central defender. Ryan.
Sorry, if Ledley King had remained fit, he wouldn't have remained at Tottenham. His talent was so much bigger.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, very true.
That's a fair point. You'd have got a free transfer like Sol Campbell and gone to Arsenal. No, he would have gone. He would have gone somewhere big, Man United or somewhere like that. Definitely. Yeah, Ledley King. That's a good shout. Next one.
So I've got 2 others. I'll go to the one that you might not know. Pete, you'll know him from Football Manager. Eder Alvarez Balanta.
Oh yeah. Great defender. Yeah, lovely. On Football Manager.
The world was raving about this kid. He was lined up to go. I think he had a trial at Barcelona, and they saw a problem with his knee, so they refused to sign him. He kind of buffed it away and said it's not a big issue. Carried on playing for River Plate, went to Basel in Switzerland, and I think he was about 22, 23 when he made the move. And surprise, his knee just finished him. I think he was at Basel for 3 or 4 years, couldn't finish a complete season. Still, when you listen to and read things about him, he still is a fantastic centre-back, but just broke down, managed about 16 games a season because his knees couldn't take it. And I think last season he moved to Club Bruges.
Still playing.
He's still playing. He's at Club Bruges, and I think he's been fairly fit based off the number of games he's played. But he's had like 4 surgeries on his knee.
Yeah,
but still playing. He was a real talent, highly rated. And I'm not saying that as an FM Football Manager fan, because he was amazing on FM. But if you listen to, I used to listen to Tim Vickery on Football Phone In and a few other South American things. Everyone would hype up this man. Career, just his injuries just ruined him. And the sad thing for him is, and I wonder if he'd done something about it when Barcelona called him and said, "Listen, we found a problem." Would it have made a difference rather than carrying on playing? But yeah.
Amazing. He's playing. Apparently, he's now
at Club Bruges. Yeah, he's at Club Bruges in Belgium. Since he joined in 2019, he's played 49 games.
He's done
quite well.
They're playing him in midfield, apparently.
Why not?
Apparently, 2021, 4 games in the Champions League, 2 in the Europa League, 25 in the Jupiler League, the main league.
That's last season. Yeah.
That's last season. Sorry. So, but he's 41 appearances up until the start of this season for them. So he's getting some games here. Hopefully, but he's just not going to achieve the level of that was expected of him, which is a shame. Next one.
My last one is someone that I don't think was ever built to be a big star, but someone that I always enjoyed watching, and it's Dean Ashton.
Yeah, I had that one.
Yeah,
as well.
no.
That's when I kind of remember watching football I remember hearing his name scoring a ton for Crewe in what was then the first division, now the Championship, and then he came up to Norwich, I think in the January window of their Premier League year, and almost kept them up pretty much single-handedly. Went to West Ham, couldn't stay fit. Same as other players, just couldn't stay fit. Sadly, his career ended after his only appearance for England. He was injured in a game against Trinidad and Tobago that ended his footballing career at 26.
26, yeah.
He was never going to be, he was never going to play for Man United, Chelsea, those kind of players. But I loved watching him. He was a big man that could move, scored goals, caused problems. It's a shame looking back that he never got that time to play more.
he actually was a hell of a footballer in terms of technique for such a big
he was
fella.
good. Yeah.
He was really good. I'm glad I let Dan go first because apparently my information's incorrect because according to what I read, he suffered a broken ankle in a challenge with Sean Wright Phillips. But Dan's just said that he injured himself on England duty.
According to the one I read, it was on England duty.
Yeah,
I think West Ham filed to get their money back for paying him for the rest of his contract because he was injured on international duty.
He was going to be a very good Premier League goal scorer without a shadow of a doubt, and he'd have been very, very useful because he was a big lad. And I think, when you look at the time he was playing, who was playing up front for England? I mean, he would have got more games, plenty
Rooney
more.
And Owen, wasn't it?
Rooney and Owen, and Owen was forever injured, so he's always had the dodgy hamstring or whatever. So there's a good chance that he would have played a fair few games as long as he got on with Capello.
The one other one I just wanted to ask you two about because he was a bit before my time.
Go on.
But when I was doing research into this, I kept seeing Darren Anderton's name pop up.
Yes. Right. No.
I mean,
sick note. Yeah, genuinely.
Sick note. Yeah, I was very aware that he
was
sick note and the problems he had. But
he signed for Tottenham, and they run up to Euro '96 for about 2 seasons before '96. He was injured for most of the time. He miraculously stayed fit enough to get to the Euro '96, and he was picked, and he played really well. He was very good when he played and when he was fit. And then as soon as Euro '96 was over, he got injured, and miraculously he was back again for the World Cup in '98. And after that, he didn't make any other tournaments, but injury cut short a lot. There was a film out called The English Patient, which was all these classical actors, but they mocked up the film poster with a picture of Darren Anderton, which was a bit unfair. But a very talented player, and he was a very important part of the Euro '96 squad that did so well. Very talented. I think he came from Bournemouth, if I remember right. No, it's Portsmouth. It was Portsmouth. He started.
He might have played for both.
No, he started at Portsmouth and he signed to Spurs. He went to Birmingham City, Wolves, and then Bournemouth. But he played 299 games for Spurs and he got 30 England caps. But he really should have had more because he was just hampered by injuries. It was a bit of a nightmare for him, to be honest. But very good player when he was fit. But he just wasn't fit long enough. He couldn't, he very rarely made a whole season without, getting some sort of injury. I mean, some players' bodies, just the level of training and the punishing routine that training is, bodies just can't take it. And these days, the way players train now, it's tough on the bodies. Ryan.
And the other thing is he turned down and moved to Manchester United.
Well, he's not all bad then, is he?
It just makes you wonder, had he not turned down Manchester United when he was at Tottenham, would he have gone on and got injured? Yeah,
cool. I think so, because he had that. I think it's his body. It's not a question of. I don't think it's a question of he was at the wrong club. I would say that's his body letting him down. There's other players. I mean, you look at players that had they gone to Man United, it'd be different. Gaza would have been a different story under Alex Ferguson.
I was going to say,
that was different.
Well, no, because I was actually going to bring him up as well because he suffered some really bad injuries at Lazio, didn't he?
But I want to just move away from that because with Anderson, I think it was his body. And with Gaza, had he gone to Man United, I think Ferguson would have managed him better than Venables did. And he wouldn't have been in London. He'd have been in Manchester where there's temptation. But Fergie had eyes everywhere in Manchester. And Gaza would not have got away with anywhere near the stuff he got away in London. You talk to players who played with Gaza in London and he was up to scrapes every night, out and about. That wouldn't have happened in Manchester. But Darren Anderson's problems were his physical. It was nothing to do with what club he was at. It was purely down to his body. Wasn't up to the task.
Well, one more from a very biased perspective.
Go on.
Charlton perspective. Royce Wiggins, who was a Charlton left back, he was about 27, with his knee in a derby game against Palace.
Welsh international.
He would have played in the Premier League, not for Charlton.
I think did he not have a couple of games for Bournemouth?
He spent time with Bournemouth, but very that was after his knee problem.
Yeah,
he would have left us for a move. 100%.
I was at the game when he got crocked and seeing him go down. It didn't look serious. It didn't look that bad. He just went down and got taken off, but he was never the same player again after that. And I think he went back to Bournemouth, and his career. Welsh international and a very, very good left back as well. Very good left back, pacey, could defend. And could cross the ball as well. His combination with Jackson down the left wing was a joy to behold. Everyone said Jacko ran down the wing. It was Royce Wiggins that did that. So, Royce Wiggins, good shout.
I've got a couple of others here, going back a bit. Abu Diaby from Arsenal. Do you remember him?
Yep.
Yeah.
He could barely get through a game, let alone a season.
Yep.
Phil Jones, I think, has got to get a mention here because he's had 28 injuries in his Manchester United career and he's been there about 10 years.
Very talented player.
Horrific bad luck.
Yeah. Another one, his body probably can't take it.
Very strange faces.
Yeah, he's got the facial expressions that you wouldn't believe. Can I just throw in another Man United player that I think who played a lot for Man U? Well, he played a lot. He played for England as well. But his career was cut short, and I think he could have been if he'd stayed fit. What a player he was! Already a good player. Owen Hargreaves.
Yes, I've got him on the list.
Owen Hargreaves. I think we missed out on Owen Hargreaves. His injuries problems ruined him at Man United, and it was a shame because when he came through the ranks at Bayern Munich. And then signed for Man United, and he looked the part. And when he played for England, I remember when he played for England, and he just looked the complete part, sitting in front of the back four or whatever, and it just looked just what we needed, because we had attacking-minded players, but Owen Hargreaves anchored everything beautifully, and I think we missed him in a big way. Can I just chuck another one who's having problems at the moment? And I think Joe Gomez has had 2 pretty nasty knee injuries, but he's still a talented player. I'm fingers crossed that he can get over these issues, because he could play in that England back four when he's fit. Not a problem.
Eduardo, I don't know if you guys remember this. He was a Croatian striker. He was
Birmingham City.
He got his leg snapped clean in half at Birmingham City.
Yeah.
I think it was Martin Taylor, I think.
Yeah. I don't remember who it was, but yeah.
Martin Taylor.
It's difficult. I mean, some of these players, they had serious injuries, which were as a result of being tackled. Or Steve Coppell, the Man United winger and manager, he got taken out by a Hungarian left back, and it finished his career, really. And he was such a talent. He stopped playing for England in about 83, but he'd have carried on playing and possibly not have managed Palace, and I'd have loved that.
Yeah, another one that Ryan hasn't messaged yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on there. Jack Wilshere.
Yes, I was going to leave him for last because obviously he's the most present one. I mean, at the age of 29, he's now doing his coaching badges at Arsenal because he can't get a club. I think that says it all.
Body's not up to it, is it?
What a player he was, though. What a player when he was on the ball.
Yeah.
Jonathan Woodgate was another one I think would have had a better career had he not had really bad injuries.
Absolute class at Leeds, Jonathan Woodgate, and then he moved to Real Madrid and he looked class there, and then injuries just took their toll. He also had problems mentally a bit, as he had a few mental health issues as well to deal with. But his body again was another one that just wasn't up to the job, unfortunately. Who else have we got?
Dyer?
Sorry, Dan, who was that? Kieran Dyer. Yeah, I think a lot of his were more muscle related than anything else, weren't they? I think it was just a lot of hamstring injuries. He did go on to have a decent career. I'd chuck Wes Brown in there because he had some really horrific knee injuries when he was young. I think he could have been a Rolls Royce of a defender.
But he still had a decent career at the highest level, didn't he? Until he went to Sunderland. Really, and then he went to Sunderland. It's a shame. With regards to Kieran Dyer, he's having hospital treatment at the moment. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll come through whatever the issue is at the moment he's going through.
Daniel Sturridge as well was another one who seemed to suffer a lot of muscle injuries, who I think probably would have been a better player had he been able to stay fit, just like Djibril Cissé. Djibril Cissé described him as a fine-tuned Porsche. You had to keep him fine-tuned, otherwise he was no good.
Oh, a thoroughbred, yeah. Michael Owen is another one. When he burst onto the scene as a kid, at 17, at 98. He was just amazing. And he just got a load of hamstring injuries in the early part of his career, and then he cleared that up, and then he just had problems. I think when he went to Newcastle and Stoke, he said he'd given up. I've seen an interview where he said he was just doesn't know why he was still playing. He was nowhere near the player he was.
While we're on Michael Owen, he's made my favourite quote in football ever.
Go on.
There was a penalty that went wide, and I can't remember who it was. I may be wrong, but I think it was Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah.
It stands up, sticks a penalty wide, and Michael Owen says, "That's a fantastic penalty. He'll be gutted he's put it wide."
How can it be a fantastic penalty if he's put it wide? He's
What?
amazing.
And I think we've actually covered my whole list as well. So between the three of us, I think we've done quite well there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Excellent. So what we'll do next is we'll have a look at Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona have finally fired Ronald Koeman. That is the full gist of the story, really. It's been a long time coming. My guess is they didn't really want to spend the money to fire him.
They could have,
I think,
afford to earlier on in the year.
Well, no, I think they could, but they didn't want to because they were having so many money issues. And I'm baffled that they've just taken out, I think it's another £1.9 billion loan.
They're in £1 billion debt already.
They're renovating the new camp, so they need £1.9 billion. But yeah, Ronald Koeman's gone after they're currently sat, I believe, 9th in the Spanish league, recently lost to Rayo Vallecano and lost to Real Madrid, and he's finally been fired. So I'm not surprised. It's been a long time coming. He's a terrible manager anyway. I don't know how he got the job, and he's filled the squad with what he could, which is free transfers that are a load of poop. Dan, go for it, mate.
Well, can I just say on Ronald Koeman, serves him right. I've got no sympathy for him. I still remember 1993 Rotterdam. He should have been sent off against England. He went up the other end and scored a free kick. So I've forgiven him for that. But that job at Barcelona, no one would have lasted at Barcelona this season. It's been an absolute car crash. Dan?
Yep, I bet it's more than this season. They were bad last season. Last season, they finished third in the league, way out of the title race. Atletico, the two Madrid clubs had basically had a title race for themselves. They were knocked out in the Champions League coming straight out of the group stage, and they went out early in the Spanish Cup. 9 times out of 10, you're gone from that alone. So he was lucky to make it into this season. And yeah, as Ryan said, sadly he had to build a squad out of free transfers. However, I still think the players that he has at his disposal are good enough to
be better
in a Champions League conversation. Obviously not win it, but if you look right now, they're in danger of not getting out the Champions League group stage. As Ryan said, 9th in La Liga, and yes, they've had problems and their squad isn't fantastic. They still have enough in there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be Xavi, their next manager. By all I'm reading and seeing, Xavi is just finishing his contract with his club is it Qatar he's managing in?
I think so, yeah. Al Hilal or someone like that.
They're getting things sorted and then he'll be at Barcelona. But I sort of like you talk about Real Vallecano. I see people defending him saying, they lost Real Vallecano, but look at the players he's played. He's got Depay, Aguero, Philippe Coutinho, Pedri, and Javi, who's a youngster who's the next Pedri, really. You should still be beating Real Vallecano.
There is no doubt there is talent still at Barcelona, but I mean his tactics are awful. How they've managed to go from a style of football that everyone was raving and everybody was copying to this style of football, it's almost unwatchable. It really is.
Well,
I understand why he got the job, because he was essentially Barcelona's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the beginning of like, we need someone to just stop the rot. But to then allow it to carry on, it's almost as much as the board's fault as it is his, because he never should have got the job. He never should have been given this long. Just even some of the decisions they're making, they're trying to give Ousmane Dembele a new contract when he's been there for about 4 years and been fit for about 6 weeks.
I think for people that everyone sort of harks back to when Guardiola was manager there and that style of football. No way should anyone with that team be trying to play that style of football because they haven't had that that level of players. The group of players that Guardiola had were just seriously.
No. Sorry, I've got to jump in here because the style of football that Barcelona played under Pep Guardiola wasn't of Pep Guardiola's doing. It was something Johan Cruyff brought in years and years ago, and it is inbred in all the children that come out of their youth academy. So these kids are brought in, designed to play that style of football. To then get a manager who doesn't play that style of football and plays
because he didn't have the players at the level of that ability that Guardiola and Cruyff had. The talent pool coming through is nowhere near as good. It's like Man United's team of the team of '92. Don't shake your head. It's genuinely
it's not.
It's the talent, the level. The level of talent of players coming through are nowhere near.
Sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You've got
excuse me.
Barcelona under Ronald Koeman did not play that style of football. That's not what they did.
Pedri's got the potential. Like, hang on, Pedri's got the potential. He's not there yet. He's nowhere near the level of the players that I'm talking about. He's not there yet.
But we're saying. No, but what we're saying is if you watch...
I'm getting salty.
So Barcelona's football under Ronald Koeman, he didn't even attempt to play Guardiola's football, Cruyff's football. He was playing Ronald Koeman football, which was just head the ball in the midfield, we'll just give it to Messi and go on, off you go. There was no knock the ball around. There was no solid 11. Guardiola, and obviously I can't talk about under Johan Cruyff, but under Guardiola, you knew the starting 11. Yes, the talent was different. The team that he had last season should have still performed better than being knocked out in the first.
I'm not saying
title race
that the level of player he had that Koeman had, and it's not an excuse for him. It's just I'm saying the level of player he has is not the level that Guardiola and Cruyff had. This is what I'm saying. He's got players. What I'm saying is he's got players he's got a good squad. Yes, he's got a squad of players that should be challenging in the Spanish league, and they should be doing better in the Championship. But they're not going to conquer like the Barcelona that beat Man United did, are they?
If you look at what he did last year, his first thing he did was got rid of Luis Suarez. First thing he did was got rid of Luis Suarez. You can say what you want about him being a prick.
Was that the club or was no? I don't know. Was that was him? Well, he's a cock.
That was him. He didn't want Luis Suarez.
He notified him by text message.
Yeah, really? I didn't know this. You see, I didn't know
he didn't want him anymore.
I'm just looking at it in the cold light of day, not knowing a lot about it, and I just don't think the talent's there that was there previously. There is clearly talent that's emerging. But if he's buggering a player of Suarez's class, regardless of his age, that's just mental, isn't it? Really?
He threw Suarez away, as Brian said, on a free to Atletico Madrid. He then went on to bang 20 goals in 30 games, which won them the title.
Yeah.
What you signed Antoine Griezmann for a shit ton of money, whether that's him or people around him. He still wanted Griezmann and decided Suarez was out the door. He then perceived to try to play people like Coutinho in midfield, bring in Dembele, and he went for a spell with Dembele up front. He obviously was so out of his depth that he was just dipping in and getting
So we're saying he got what he deserved. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Ryan.
Absolutely. I completely agree with what you're saying. He didn't have like the Xavis, the Iniestas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, what he does have is Frankie de Jong, PK, Sergio Busquets, and they've got Ansu Fati, who's probably the best young player on the planet right now. Pedri, all these
injury list we spoke about earlier, just to let you know.
All these players were brought up and designed to play the style of football that was played under Pep. Koeman came in and went, no, we're just going to play something that basically they played.
What I'm saying,
it doesn't work.
I mean, it's his mistake. Did he come in and think, well, they're not Iniesta, they're not this, they're not that. I'm going to play it like this because I ain't going to get they're not the article that they're used to. I mean, if you go to, it's like going to any football club. If you go to Spurs, like Mourinho found, and you don't play attacking football, you get the bums rush. You go Steve Bruce at Newcastle, don't play the attacking football they want, you'll get the bums rush, and it's the same sort of thing, really, isn't it? The Barcelona for Koeman.
Yes, but at the same time, you go to Barcelona knowing that you're going to be judged on your football.
Yeah,
possibly more than your result. If you play decent, like Ernesto Valverde, was actually was given time and credit because they said you play the right football, we'll give you the time to get the result.
So, do you think it's Koeman's mentality because he had a top flight career and he's gone in? I don't care what's gone before. I'm doing it my way. It's my way or no way, and it's turned out it's cost him. That's what's happened?
But how did he get the job in the first place?
Because he's a hero at Barcelona.
I get that, but
and I see that in other clubs. Yeah, I see that in other clubs, and I'll give you Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Exactly,
that's what I said earlier.
I think he should go too.
Yeah. I'm not having a pop at Man U, but they've signed a player because he was a fan's favourite and he could bring back the glory days, and they're harking back to days, and it's something he can't deliver in Solskjaer and Koeman.
It looks like Barcelona are about to do it again because they look like they're going to bring in Xavi.
But they brought in Guardiola with relatively no experience, didn't they, as well?
Yeah, I don't think he had any. I think he was managing their under-23s when they came through.
Pep came through. Pep was coaching the players that he ended up managing. So that kind of helped him because he made that step.
Okay. So Barcelona, Xavi coming in there disgracefully has got a £1.9 million loan. There's already talk about who they're potentially going to sign, and we discussed this with Ryan a minute ago. And yeah, there's already talk about before while we were down for a second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just saying that there's talk already, newspaper talk, and some of the journalists are well-connected journalists, and they're saying this player, that player. How can Barcelona possibly be in the position to sign anyone, really, with £1 billion debt? What 2.9 billion now because because they've now got this building loan or whatever. Madness. That's something's wrong somewhere. Shall we look at away from Barcelona? Are we done Barcelona? That was almost a salty moment there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm done with that one.
We're done with that one. That leaves us to have a look at before we go to Dan and his shithousery and my thing. We need to look at last Sunday, there was a game. I texted Dan and I said I would laugh my socks off if Man United had their pants pulled down and their asses kicked as a joke. And Dan said, "No, it's going to be a boring 0-0." That's the conversation, wasn't it, Dan? 5-0 later, Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire ripped to shreds. What, Ryan? You're the Man United fan. What's your view? Because my view it was fucking hilarious. Because it's no, the reason it's hilarious because when you see a big club get tanked, doesn't matter who they are, you love it.
After all my favourites.
I will just say this because I'm a Man United fan. I can say this. It was an awful display, absolutely completely disjointed. There was nothing positive about it. We were destroyed by a team that are probably the best team in Europe right now, playing the best football at the moment. It was the best team playing probably its worst form in ages. The only thing I have a little bit of issue with, I can't defend Ollie on anything from what happened. There is no defence for it. But all I will say is people are acting like this is the fall of the Roman Empire because Man United got spanked 5-0. We've been done by huge score lines under Fergie as well.
Yeah, it happened.
Against Southampton.
Arsenal ripped the living crap out of you once as well, didn't they? Under Wenger.
I think it was like 6-2 or 6-1 or something, and then we did it the other way round.
But the difference here is Fergie was in charge then. At the moment, there's a man who's not a patch on Fergie, is he?
Yes, but also we got done I think it was 6-1 by Tottenham last year. This happens at Man United because of the style of football they play. Every now and again, they get a whooping. We lost. Do you remember the grey shirts where I think it was 6-3 to Southampton? Man United have always had this in them to get whooped.
Yeah, but I don't think they've been quite. I mean, I've got to say, for me, it's the manner in which they were undressed. To me, it wasn't. Man United, that they get beaten, and you can see, right, fair enough. This one, to me, just feels a lot different. It just feels like it's. I don't think it's the fall of the Roman Empire. What I do think it marks the actual beginning of the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because I don't think he's going to be around much longer. They're not going to tolerate too much from him.
I think the beginning of I will say it, and I think it's probably going to get. Ryan might disagree. I thought the beginning of the end for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is when they lost the Europa League final.
I am going to disagree because a lot of people bring up the fact that he didn't win the Europa League. Let's just call it actually what it was in reality. We
in
lost.
the Europa League final.
No, we lost 11-10 on penalties.
You still lost.
Our goalkeeper missed the penalty. That's how close it was. So it wasn't like we went there, shat the bed, got spanked 8-0 and got embarrassed.
I've got to say,
anyone can lose on penalties. And can I just also add, one of the Villarreal players, which is the team we played in the final, is up for the bloody Ballon d'Or. They're not as bad a team as people are making out.
No, again, but who said? Where did I say? Did I say Villarreal are a bad side?
No, I'm just. A lot of people in the media are. They're like, Man United should be whooping Villarreal when Villarreal have got a player up for Ballon d'Or.
Beat them. On that day, you should have beat them.
Jesus, people, wake up! No, how many people?
But you should have beat them.
If you look like that, when you get into a final, you can disagree with me if you want. When you get into a final, it's a gamble. It's whoever turns up on the day. You can talk about stature, you can talk about who's got who players. But if your star player shits himself in a final and doesn't play to his strength, that's it.
To be fair, you look at Man United at Wembley against Barcelona, and Rio Ferdinand quite openly says the manager got the tactics wrong for that game because he didn't put Park Ji-sung on Messi. And players were screaming for it during the game, and they wouldn't do it. And the horse had bolted. And had they, they got a proper whooping. I mean, they were outplayed that game. That had they done that, a different game. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think Ronaldo coming back has upset the apple cart. I think because he doesn't do enough for me. He doesn't. He's at the second lowest in stat for pressing. He doesn't do anything like that. He just stands there. He just moves around. He won't. If a defender's got the ball, he won't go and attack that defender. That's the stats. He's the second worst in the Premier League. Man United, from what I've always seen with Man United players, everyone pressed. Everyone pressed. They don't do that anymore. He doesn't do that. That's your weak link.
That's definitely 100% correct. Because if you look at last season with Cavani. He was the trigger to the press. I think Ollie's biggest fault, and especially recently, has been I think he feels he's got a better caliber of player now, so he can play a different style of football to the style of football he's been playing for the last 2 years. And it's just not good enough.
I think Ronaldo should be on the bench and come off when you need a goal. You can't be starting Cristiano Ronaldo, but Ronaldo sulks if he doesn't play, does he? I mean, I saw a thing. There was a clip of Solskjaer giving it the hands, and then there was another clip of Ronaldo doing it. Now, listen, that could be edited together, and it could be two separate incidents, miles apart, 20 minutes apart. There's no unless you see that as you see the whole picture and you see that going on. I'm not believing it.
No, that was one clip. Yeah,
it
panned from Solskjaer to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo was doing.
He was all right. So I thought it was whether he was doing that. He was doing that in context then.
Yeah, it was as it was going on.
Well, I'm sorry, but yeah,
I just want to reverse because I didn't finish my point. The reason I say the Villarreal game is because I sat there watching that game and I thought, are you going to change this at some point? Are you going to change your tactical approach, or are you just going to change personnel and hope? And he changed personnel and hoped. And I thought, okay, this is a concern. And then I've noticed it that when things aren't quite going his way, he doesn't change tactics.
So there's no plan B, is what you're saying.
And it helps him. I mean, he obviously can get his tactics right because his record against the top six until last season was very good. Last season, the only team worse than him was Tottenham.
So what needs to happen at Man U, Ryan?
To be honest, at this point, I'm really not sure. I honestly, genuinely don't know. Everyone's talking about Antonio Conte coming in. I don't think that's the right move because he will do what he's done at every other club. He will come in, he will tear up everything Man United have been trying to do for the last 3 years and just do what Mourinho did and bring in a bunch of expensive foreign players that will do you a job for about 2 years, and then he'll upset the dressing room and upset the board, and then he'll be out on his ear.
Okay.
And everything that Man United have tried to build for the last 3 years has gone. What I think they need is someone like Mauricio Pochettino when he went to Spurs. He was a young manager who bought into a vision of a club and worked with his own skills to create that vision, as opposed to someone who just wants to come in, rip it all up and do it their own way.
But who is that man? Who is that man to go in and do all that?
Me.
No, seriously, who is there out there? Is there anyone, Ryan, at Man United now that could go in and take over? Is there a succession in place? That someone that could
No,
succeed? So,
not that I can see.
so
The next would be really, because I don't think they'd give it to Mike Phelan. If they were to keep it in house, it'd be Michael Carrick, and that's not a good idea.
No, he's not even good enough to be coach, if you ask me personally. But I said it on last week's pod. I would go for someone like Thomas Frank. I would have gone for the previous Dortmund manager, but he's obviously gone to Bayern Munich.
Nagelsmann. No.
Yeah, I would have gone for Nagelsmann, but he's obviously gone to Bayern Munich. Because, I mean, the other thing that confuses me about Ollie's style of play is the fact that we've got young talent now.
Midfield.
No, we signed Jadon Sancho, who's used to playing a high pressing game at Borussia Dortmund,
and they're not doing it.
We play a high pressing game, and then we leave Sancho on the bench.
And then you've got the worst player at pressing in Ronaldo.
Up front. I've said previously on the pod that I don't understand is in-game management. I don't get it. I know David De Gea's been in good form. He's always been a fantastic shot stopper, but one thing he doesn't do is command his defenders and command his box. And the reason Man United was so much better defensively last season was because Dean Henderson is in between the sticks and he doesn't shut up. So I think
genuinely that's what you need on a pitch.
I think they need to replace David De Gea. I know he's been fantastic shot stopping. He always has been, but he just doesn't command his defence. So I think they're missing that leadership. And Harry Maguire, sorry, let me just finish and then I'll shut up. Harry Maguire is not a captain. I don't care how nice he is. I don't care what the players think of him. On that football pitch, he is not a captain. I said it to Dan previously. He should not be Manchester United captain.
I will say, back to the keeper, De Gea, if you've got a keeper, I would take a keeper who's more vocal over a keeper that's got world-class agility. I would take Henderson if he's more vocal than De Gea, because you look at the best teams, they have leaders running throughout that team. And I'm struggling to see where those leaders are now at Man United, because there's no one like Peter Schmeichel in goal, who, if that defender stepped out of line, Steve Bruce and Gary Pallister or whoever would be shitting themselves. That Schmeichel would be at them. And then if you did that, if you had Steve Bruce and Pallister who would lead from the back, you'd also had, I mean, just look at Rio and Vidic. Good grief, you're not going to argue with them. You go into the midfield, and a big problem for me is the midfield. And you look throughout that a good team, you have leaders, and I don't see leaders through, and I just don't think they're good enough.
You touched on a point that I really agree on. When I watched the game, and the games I've watched before, Fred and McTominay, they just no. McTominay, I don't mind. But I don't think he should be starting. The problem for Man United is they don't have someone better than him. The problem that they need to. And Fred should be playing for Welling United. So
McTominay, for me, should be on the bench and bring him on when you're 3-1 up and you just want to keep it enclosed, don't go and keep it tight. I don't think he's a starter for Man United. He might be a starter at Everton. He might be a starter at Newcastle. He's not a Manchester United player for me.
McTominay for me reminds me of a Nicky Butt. He was very good, very able, very solid deputy, but he was never going to replace a Roy Keane or a Paul Scholes. Fred's nowhere near good enough. We know this. Listen, we hammer Fred. Fred's a good professional. He works hard. He tries his best. He's not up to Manchester United's league. No. Matic is well past his prime. He's 33. He's bless him. He can barely run. He can barely turn. It's no good. So basically, we've got one half decent midfielder because everyone keeps saying Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's proved for years he can't play as a central midfielder. And that's the reason we got whooped at Leicester, because for some reason, Ollie decided, and everyone talks about how bad the Leicester game was, he decided he would drop McTominay and Fred and bring in Pogba and Matic into the midfield. You're not going to win a football game with those two in central midfield. It's just not going to happen.
And I think it's also perfectly clear that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer walked in on Danny Van den Beek and his wife, because Van den Beek can't get anywhere near the start.
I don't know why he was signed. I honestly don't understand it. He's signed, he's not played. At least give him a shot.
Yeah.
Realistically, he should be a good option in midfield. He's high energy. He's built up his body mass because last year he was a little bit slim.
But Solskjaer doesn't fancy him.
Yeah, and technically, he's from the Ajax Academy. He knows how to use a football. He should be a good temporary solution.
But that's the thing. After you've been smashed for 5 by Liverpool, I don't know who you've got next, but surely this is the game where you maybe try him or try a Hannibal, who's a young talent at United. Just see.
I think next one is Tottenham.
Tottenham.
I'd put him in there with McTominay. And I'd bring in Sancho as well, because what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing with Sancho, I don't know. Everyone's saying that Man United shouldn't have bought Sancho, but for the last 18 months, they're saying Man United need a right winger, so we go out and buy Sancho, and everyone's saying no, we shouldn't have bought him.
I'm still mystified by the Ronaldo signing and starting him. It mystifies me because he's not what he's great if you're chasing a game. If you're chasing a game and you need to get a goal, and you're an hour into a game and there's a deadlock, bring him on, fine. But you can't be starting games with him because of what we said already. He doesn't work for the team. He doesn't work for the team for me.
I think that Ryan said... Oh, go on, Ryan.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think you can start him at home, because at home you're supposed to have the ball, you're supposed to dictate play, so you can use him as a poacher at home. Away from home, I agree, he shouldn't be starting. And personally, I don't think Man United should have signed him. I don't think we needed to sign him. I think Cavani and Greenwood were more than good enough. I think it was an opportunity that fell into their laps that they never foresaw coming.
It's a commercial opportunity.
Yes. I don't think that was an Ollie or a transfer committee signing.
A
commercial one.
Yeah. Dan.
The thing that got me, and it's something that Ryan said when we originally discussed Ronaldo going to United, and brings to your point about Sancho. I think Sancho would be starting if they hadn't signed Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Because Greenwood would be up front, not on the right wing, wasting his time, because Greenwood is a natural finisher and should be Man United striker, with that option of having Cavani for when you want to rest Greenwood, etc. They sign Ronaldo. Ronaldo is going to be in starting lineup for the majority of games. He just is. And then you have to put Greenwood out wide, which has a knock-on effect for Sancho, who then don't get to play the games. Greenwood has no right to be on the wing. He should be up front. And I saw a Man United fan this morning, just to detour a little bit, saying that Ronaldo's taking minutes off Anthony Martial. Good.
So, on reflection, Man United are a bit of a crossroads at the moment, but they need someone to come in, but we don't know who at the moment because there's no one obvious. Pochettino's still at Paris Saint-Germain, isn't he?
If I'm really honest with you, I don't think Ollie will be there at the end of the season.
I don't think he'll be there at Christmas.
I think he will be there until the end of the season, and then they will say thank you very much, goodbye.
I don't think he's going to make Christmas.
Have you seen the next 3 games?
Go on.
Yeah, it's Tottenham, Atalanta, and City.
Tottenham, at Atlanta, so at Tottenham, at Atalanta, and then is at home at Man City. If he doesn't get through those 3 games, it's going to be a riot.
if Man City do what Liverpool, or get anywhere close to doing what Liverpool done, he'll be gone.
The only good thing for him is his record against Guardiola is genuinely really good. So we'll see. It might help him out. Man, Tottenham are crap.
We'll see. Now, Ryan really didn't want us to discuss that tonight, did you, Ryan? When we mentioned it, he said bastards. No, bastards, he said.
I did tell him because it's all that's been on the TV all week.
I know, it's been great. We loved it.
I enjoy listening. And can I just actually say, well, everybody's been bashing Ollie and bashing Man United, and fair enough, it was shit. Yeah. Can I just say how bloody amazing Liverpool were?
Mo Salah.
As bad as Man United were, you've still got to rip them a new butthole, and that's exactly what Liverpool did.
Mo Salah. Mo Salah, the world's best player at the moment.
Without Sadio Mane in the starting 11, without Fabinho in their midfield, and Matip as well, who is a starter for them, but without 3 big starting players, Fabinho and Mane especially, they walked all over them, didn't they?
I want to say to listeners, if you think, because we get a bit salty with each other, that when the microphone's switched off, we have a giggle. Whatever's said on the podcast stays on the podcast, and it doesn't get carried over. We still have a bit of a giggle about football. And talking of which, it's time to we're supposed to. So we've appointed Dan as the Tsar of shithousery, and we haven't found anything for Ryan yet, but we will. Ryan, don't panic. Give us a couple of weeks. It'll take a couple of weeks, but something will spring to our minds and we'll appoint you as something. Dan, is your position of Tsar of shithousery? There's been a fair amount this week, hasn't there?
Yeah, so I've narrowed it down to one is in football one, and then one is in the fans. So second place, I just want to say well done. I really appreciate the shithousery of the Liverpool fans singing Ollie's at the wheel at full time at Old Trafford.
That's right.
Well played. Fucking brilliant. Love that. That is shithouse. I was Charlton fans. We've done that before elsewhere.
Yeah.
So big fan of that. But shithousery of the week.
Go on.
It's going to Airdrieonians FC of Scotland.
Go on.
They beat Dumbarton 3-2 this weekend.
Yeah.
In the 88th minute, they're 2-1 down.
Yeah. Hey.
However, in the 88th minute, they are 2-1 down. However,
Go on.
with 6 minutes remaining, Dumbarton then proceed to have 3 men sent off.
Brilliant.
They score a penalty, and then in the 96th minute,
Go on.
Salim Azaya scores for Airdrieonians, and they win the game 3-2.
Amazing.
If that's not shithousery,
Is that on
I don't know what
YouTube? Is that game on YouTube somewhere? Because I'd like to see that. Can I go a bit of vintage shithousery? Years ago, where in the 80s, we used to have a cable channel called Screen Sport. And they used to show Copa America and all the South American games. There was a game in South America, and I cannot remember who it was between. But the level of shithousery in those games is astonishing. But this one was particularly good. A penalty was awarded, and this was pre-planned. What the opposition did. Penalty was awarded against I think they were a Chilean team, and what happened was the defenders surrounded the keeper, the referee, right? Moved the referee away from the penalty box with their arguments. Whilst they're doing that, the goalkeeper has rubbed out the penalty spot. I mean, shithousery. They had to then wait for someone to come on with a bucket of paint the penalty spot. Done that, and they've repeated the act. Absolute top shithousery. There was a bit I saw today on Twitter. There was a game in one of the non-league teams. And there was 2 guys. One guy was herring down the wing with a player, defender chasing him. A fan leapt over and tackled him. Absolutely perfect tackle.
I was watching that live. That was Altrincham against Woking.
That's the one. Wasn't it? What a tackle it was, wasn't it? It was an amazing tackle. Have you seen any shithousery this week, Ryan, that you want to bring to the Tsar's attention? That's a no.
I think. Well, no. To be honest, I think the biggest shithousery at the moment going on is the individual battle between Mohamed Salah and the rest of the Premier League, because he's winning it hands down.
That's not shithousery. That's talent.
Shithousery.
That's not shithousery.
You're whopping the whole league on your own. That's shithousery of the highest order.
I tell you who I always look out for in terms of shithousery. It's Jamie Vardy. I think he has potential. I mean, yeah, Dan's shaking his head. He will make the shithousery. He will make the shithousery. He will make it, because he loves nothing better than to shithouse in some way. So, what have you got for me, Dan?
So yours is I've completely forgotten what yours is.
What's yours?
No, yours is saltiness of the week.
Saltiness of the week.
I have a statement ready. However, I think we might be on the same thing. So I'm going to let you say yours, and then if mine's different, I'll come in afterwards.
Manchester United, Liverpool at Old Trafford. The camera pans into the stand at 5-0, and there is Sir Alex Ferguson, the fucking vision of saltiness. He looked like a bulldog who just licked the piss off a nettle. He was not a happy man. Salty, I give you my first salty, Sir Alex Ferguson. Dan, is that where you were going?
No. So,
or Lee Johnson at Sunderland, the wanker.
Everyone raise their glass. If you're listening at home, raise your glass to catch the tears of Lee Johnson at full time. At Sunderland. I've never seen a man come out to a press conference and his first words are to make up an excuse about how the striker that you have played, that you won't play next week, isn't going to play next week because he's going to be banned.
For a headbutt that didn't happen.
Are you that upset that you've lost? That you're excited because the striker that you've just played isn't going to be playing next week,
and then to compound it, the Sunderland fans then have weighed in all week saying how has he not been charged? And when you watch the video, there's no head involved at all. Absolute.
They go head to head, and Stockley turns his shoulder into him, and
Deliberately.
Apparently, I can't confirm, but
Oh, it's deliberate.
If you look at Lee Johnson, apparently his head is somewhere on.
No. And there's also Jason
elbow
Pearce,
or
a penalty against Jason Pearce, who was on the floor when the ball was kicked from about 2 yards from him. No time to react. That's handball, apparently, according to Lee Johnson. He's a close run second, but I'm thinking Sir Alex is getting it because...
Again, if you've got a cut, please catch the tears.
Face like thunder. Ryan, any salties for you other than the entire... everything, anyone in Manchester in the Old Trafford area at the moment? Have you got anything saltiness?
Probably give it to Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport. He's been proper salty about Man United.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. What about Danny Mills?
I don't really listen to Danny Mills. Jason Cundy is the other one who's proper salty. He was the one who was like, Newcastle got new owners. They need to be relegated. It's just like, Jesus, come on.
Yeah, Jason Cundy, that's what he's there for. He's there to provoke. And that's that whole radio station is Jamie O'Hara. But the Danny Mills one is they cut to him and they said, what do you make? And he just said they're a load of shite or something, didn't he?
So he was on Sky Sports. They were talking about Man United. Then they went for a TV break. And when they came back from the TV break, they didn't say they were live again. So the guy running the interview said, "Oh, it's lovely to talk to you two." And Danny Mills turned around and went, "The basis of our conversation is that Man United is shit. No one had told him he was live."
Yeah, and that went out live. So on that note, so we'll think of something. If you've got suggestions for us on what Ryan can be the czar of, send us an email or message us on Facebook, actually. That's probably the best way. Or tweet us. That's pretty much it, fellas, for this time. Who knows what the weekend will bring? There's another fixtures, more chance for a bit of saltiness, a bit of shithousery, and the odd thrashing here. And so, thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you,
Ryan.
Thank you very much for this delightful show.
He has gone. Ryan, can you very quickly just the sponsors that you're involved with, just quickly give them a plug.
The Proper Blokes Club. Go to properblokesclub.co.uk for mental health for men.
Dan, go.
Let us talk Mental Health Football Club. We're playing in Crayford. If you're in the area, come and see us.
What date?
On the 19th of November, Friday night, 7:30.
At VCD's home ground at Oakwood. Is that right?
VCD's home ground, yeah.
Excellent. Gentlemen, have a less than salty week, and let's hope none of us have our trousers pulled down and our arses spanked like Man U. Thank you very much. Ta-ra.
Bastards.